Right, you lot. And Sir Keir Starmer has resigned as leader of the Labour Party. It was a month after he said this, by the way.
Elected to meet those challenges, and I'm not going to walk away from those challenges and plunge the country into chaos. It was a 5-year term I was elected to do. I intend to see that through.
Well, that's aged bloody poorly, hasn't it? Don't say that, mate. Oh my god. It's like when Liz Truss started going on about how she was a fighter, only to walk out the door a few minutes later. Could we just give a shout out to Larry the Cat, by the way? What an absolute legend. Like, how the hell? He's 19, that cat. He's seen off like 7 prime ministers. A lot about the state of the country. Getting the prime minister job is a bit like being Watford manager. You know you're not going to do your full term. You're going to be out within a few months. Or weeks if you're Liz Truss. So he's gone. Because, why is he gone again? If we really want to be honest about the fact that Keir Starmer's resigned, it's mainly because of a lot of opportunists in the Labour Party scheming and putting their own self-interest over perhaps what is better for the country. He's not had some preposterous scandal. He's not tanked the economy like Liz. And he's not walked away because he's a pussy like David Cameron. Oh, don't get me started on that, man. He said, oh, should we do Brexit? Then the moment people said yes, ran away quicker than Roadrunner. Let's have some truth about Starmer, right? He was never that popular of a leader. He was never that liked in the public. It was always like a whatever reaction from the public. People were like, yeah, fine. The main job and motive of the 2024 general election was to get rid of the Tories after 14 years. All Starmer had to do was get on a mic and say, I'm not the Tories, and he won. But he got less votes than Jeremy Corbyn got in 2019, don't forget. He was never that popular of a leader. I think a lot of politics, unfortunately, now has turned into vibes. America has ruined a lot of things, and I think the Americanization of personalities and charisma, Starmer never really stood a chance. He's always been a bit of a wet wipe of a bloke. Just a bit of a boring guy. I think his biggest failure really was the lack of backbone for me. If I were to point out the reason failed, a lot of the time he proposed things, but it was so courseless. I think he cared so much about public opinion that sometimes you have to take a swing, you have to commit to something and stand by your ideas, and a lot of the time he'd propose an idea, certain people that it would affect didn't like it, even though it might have been a net positive as a whole, and then he'd backtrack on the whole thing entirely, and then we get nowhere. The PR of the Labour Party is terrible, and it may be one of the worst things. The British media is an absolute basket case of itself. And it's very clear that there are big subsections that will never like a Labour leader. And he was always going to have a hard time. When you've got someone like Elon Musk, who is promoting and giving money in to restore Britain at the moment, and buying all these bots and stuff, and this isn't conspiracy, this is just literally what's happening. Or you're getting people getting £5 million donations, but, you know, that's a whole other story. It's no surprise. When you're reading the Epstein files and you're seeing that a big part of the Epstein files was to make Brexit happen, and it was a global event with Russia involved and all this stuff, you start to wonder, and I'm not blaming the media on Starmer's failures, you know. He was pretty much a mixed bag as a Prime Minister, as is. But do I think the proportion of hatred he gets as compared to what he actually did is entirely fair? Absolutely not, I don't believe. Yes, he's pissed off a lot of people along the way. Farmers, small business owners, the WASPy women, trans people, anyone under 16 as of last week. But if you actually look at the numbers from what he inherited to where he is now, it's okay. Net migration falling, inflation down, hospital waiting list going down, improvements with workers' rights, for example, like a whole host of things. Also some very bad stuff in there. And this weird obsession with controlling, with whether it's the digital ID, the social media bans, the online state, you know. And as a whole, I think people, do they feel much better off? Do they feel rich? Maybe not, and that is number one. But I think people maybe expect too much. When Andy Burnham comes in and he can't wave a wand and fix the country in 5 minutes, you're going to have all the same suspects coming out to, you know, saying, I think you've got to commend him on what he's done on an international scale, obviously. You know, how he's dealt with Trump, not going into the Iran war, which, by the way, if we had a Tory or a Reform government, we'd be in the Iran war right now. Although they did backtrack on that a week later, so maybe not. But as a whole, really, it's very disappointing to see this infighting, to see this sort of childish, like, power struggle. It just feels like a bunch of people that, these rich people, they don't care about us. They couldn't give a shit. They just want to get more power within themselves. And I feel like that's the main reason why he's gone. You know, you can wrap up and say local elections were disappointing, and, you know, is Starmer capable of winning the next general election? Maybe not. Maybe they believe that Andy Burnham is the man who could challenge Reform or the Conservatives to best shot of challenge and reform, but to me it feels unnecessary. I would have rather he saw out his whole term, because let's move on to Andy Burnham, who is of course the favourite, and let's be honest, the worst kept secret of all time. It's incredible that a man that wasn't even an MP a week ago has just, like, completely destroyed the Prime Minister and got him ousted immediately. Andy Burnham has a history of running and failing to be Prime Minister. He ran against Corbyn many moons back and did terribly. There are some interesting things that he has, but it seems that a lot more of his unorthodox or maybe more typically left-wing economic ideas, he seems to have been moving away from them. It seems that he says a lot of things, and almost everything he said he's already gone back on to more fit the party line. There's a level of entitlement and arrogance to him, which I don't particularly love. But he does have some ideas that I am willing to be open to. However, I just don't believe that he's going to be able to change that much within the infrastructure and within the same system, because he's still going to be working within the same constraints as Storm was. He's not going to change too much. He's not going to be like Liz, where she comes in and adds all this new budget and all this crap. Like, he's going to ride along, but perhaps he may be a better communicator and he's a more likeable man. But it seems to just be strong with a northern accent. They're not too ideologically opposed, so what was the point of changing the leader? Anyone who's calling for a general election, by the way, you've already had Farage calling for that, which is fascinating. I mean, Andy himself is kind of in a bit of a trouble, because back in 2023, when Rishi Sunak became the Prime Minister, he was calling for an election then, because no one voted for Rishi, and kind of, you know, he's got himself in a bit of a hole, and calling an election right now could be the stupidest thing that Andy would ever do. But no, that's not how the rules work. If the Tories were able to keep chopping and changing, Labour can do this too. Wait till 2029, Farage. Rules are rules, I'm sorry, mate. Is it fair? Maybe not, but, you know, you vote for a party in this country, not a person. You know, we're not America. I'd understand if, like, Trump had to get replaced by someone, you're like, oh, it's like, no one voted for JD. Like, that's a bit different. But, like, you vote for a party, you don't vote for a person. It doesn't matter who the leader is. So, no, we're not going to be calling a general election until they want to. I'm sorry, mate. See, honestly, if I was to rank prime ministers, like, in my lifetime, he's third. And that's saying something, because he's barely average in terms of, you know, a plethora of mistakes and just stupid hills to die on. But as a whole, they have done some good stuff, but you wouldn't know, because they haven't told you very well. So, yeah, that's my view on the resignation of the Prime Minister, and obviously this is going to be a very contentious issue, and you're probably going to disagree with almost every sentence that I say. I love debate, I love having ideas, so please get your opinion, your thoughts in the comments, and I'm really excited to hear them. So yeah, I'll see you lot soon, goodbye.